Hello? Sorry, I don't know why the music is not working. Not filters. Hold. This is very strange. It is. Okay, so you guys can't hear this, right? It's like nothing. Me barely. Uh. Can I audio? Oh wait. Oh, sorry, that was probably really loud. Why can't you hear me? Let's move that down a little bit. You can hear me now? Okay. Yeah, that was really weird. That was kind of funky. Hey, Cole. Okay. We will. Hey, Jill. Hey, Prodigy. Hello, hello. Hey, Buzzy. Hey, Marie. Hey, BL? BLs? Hello. Hey, Lycus. Hey, Functional Frog. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday stream. Yeah, so today's gonna be pretty much like we normally do. Probably charity commissions and stuff. I think I might have to stream an additional day this week. It's gonna be really loud. I'm gonna turn this down. I might need to stream an additional day this week just to round things out with like all the partner requirements, because I think we need 12 days and I think we're going to have 11 by the end, by Friday. So I might stream tomorrow as well. I guess we'll see. But yeah, so good thing is we'll make a lot of progress on charity commission stuff this week. I could. I don't know how next week is gonna shape up. It might just be easier for me to do it when I'm not working. This week is gonna be my last week before I start my new job. So, I think just to be safe, I'll do it this tomorrow. Is basically what I'm saying. And we'll just save next week for me to transition into my new workplace. Plus, I don't know when the timer thing resets, so just do it. It's fine. It does. I just haven't checked. Hey, Peach. Hey, Revo. Thank you, thank you. Oh, hey, the music is kind of soft. do you draw a straight line art without a sketch? Have you just practiced it a lot? For the most part, I think it is a combination of being fairly confident in the stuff that I'm drawing. I've been drawing characters for a very long time, and I'm very comfortable with a lot of things that go with drawing characters, which is like drawing clothes, poses, like all that kind of stuff. So because I'm comfortable with those things, drawing them straight is not necessarily a problem, because drawing guidelines after a certain point just kind of feels a little extraneous if I can kind of guess where everything is going to be. So maybe you answered this before in a video or somewhere, but when you choose to use either side or Photoshop, are you making a conscious decision, or is it more like I feel like side today? It depends, right? Photoshop, I much prefer to do everything in terms of like painting and finishing work, adding text, adding like effects and stuff. I think it's just a much more robust program in that way. Sai I use kind of just to do exactly this, drawing uncolored sketches in, because it feels nice, and I think the brush that I use is relatively simple. It's a barely modified default brush. It's simple. There's not a ton of like complex things with it, so Sai is just comfortable to use. It's very yeah, it's a very clean interface. So if I'm ever like actually making professional work or doing something a little bit more serious, I'll go back to Photoshop. But when it comes to just sketching, I think Sai feels nice. It feels very comfortable. Hey Couch Potato, hey Sunburns. Nice. I'm glad you had fun. This is my character, my D&D character actually. Her name is Kaisa. How's it going? It's been pretty good. Yesterday, me and a bunch of friends went over to an arcade here in LA for one of their birthdays, and it was quite fun. I'm not much of an arcade person, honestly. It's the kind of like social event that gives me like mild anxiety if I think about it, but it was actually surprisingly fun. So if you're ever in LA, you could consider going to 2-Bit Circus is what they're called. They're like an indoor, more modern arcade, so they've got like VR games and stuff, as well as some like actual cabinets and like just general like arcade stuff. It's not super big. It's not like Round 1 in terms of being like absolutely full with games, but it's kind of fun to go with like a group of people. I feel like Round 1, most of the games you have to play with like just one person or 2 people, but those games, they have like games for 10, games for 8, so it was quite cool. I enjoyed it. It was my bit of social interaction for the month, so I'm happy to be back in my room again. Yeah, I got to play Beat Saber for the first time, which was really interesting. Not great when I realized it's a game that requires you to know directions, because you have to like hit the button, or not hit the button, you have to slash through the block in the direction that it indicates, and I'm like, I am someone who cannot tell their left from right super fast. You have to give me a second. So that was awful, terrifying. The Beat Saber is really fun, actually. So now I kind of want to get a VR set, or whatever they're called. Console. They're not really like console, are they? I don't know. I want to get like a VR thing so I can play Beat Saber. Just Beat Saber, nothing else. It's one of the few games where I can be like, okay, maybe this won't give me motion sickness. You know, but hey, can't tell up, down, left, right super fast. So that was a little bit of a jump scare whenever like something would pop up like a block would come like running at me, and I'm like, oh shit, up, what does up mean? So but it was fun. It was really fun though, so I had a lot of fun.
Yes, Daddy.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear the song say that. Yeah, I don't know what, like, the differences between getting, like, the Vive or the Oculus? Is that what it's called? I don't know how different it is, whether or not one's like, okay, don't get the Oculus. I have no idea. Hey, Enya. Fox, thank you for the 2 months up for 2 months. Thank you so much. I don't fucking know. Don't ask me. I don't know anything about weapons. I'm just like zoning out, dissociating. I am absolutely thinking about other things. I don't know. I just not a weapons designer, okay? I made my designation very clear. I only do characters, okay? Anything else? Anything else? You're gonna have to hope to God that I'm present on this earth to design. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Don't look at me. Hey guys. Do your research. Know your stuff. Know your history. And then me promptly dissociating mid drawing. It's good to be a worldly artist. And then promptly pulling shit out of my ass.
Take a few more pills to help you cope with that? Just something to get you over the bad feeling?
I don't, maybe.
Is that how you want to go through life? Doped out of your mind, drugs so you don't feel anything?
Whoa. This song's spitting some stuff.
Feel pain.
What is with this mix? It's like lo-fi romance with like the little squiggly lo-fi hip-hop. It's like, and then it's saying stuff like, yo. Maybe I should have put on the Persona 5 lo-fi hip-hop mix instead of this. Anyway. So the first one we're gonna do with here, we can look at one where the
I'm so scared.
weapon isn't messed up.
How could I have just let her lie there and not do anything to help her?
We'll just put that there.
You know how.
Just put that there.
What can I do, Bobby?
Stop taking those pills. If you don't stop, Lucy, you'll never get better. Never.
And just go on feeling
What's the
Yes.
first one?
Yes, until you start feeling better. Honey, that's just the way it is, and it's the same for everybody.
Alright, let's go. I tried. That's all I can say about that one. I tried. Hey, Jay.
on for so long.
You're beautiful. My boy, big Ben. Oh, you're so big.
Last time I saw you, you were 6.875 kilograms, and now, look at you.
Mom?
I'm sorry. I'm babbling.
Welcome, welcome. I was just wondering which VR headset would be a better investment, because I'm interested in getting one. But I don't really have any interest in a lot of VR games and stuff, except for maybe Beat Saber, so it's kind of like I don't really follow the crowd or any news about quality of consoles and stuff like that. Full body is probably not important. I had a question about grayscale method. If colors can end up affecting the established values, how do people compensate for that? Well, so the things that can really impact things on a value level, so like values in general, we can subconsciously sense what or interpret colors as values, right? We can inherently sense that one color is darker than the other. The thing that really throws a wrench into that is saturation, which is what a lot of people struggle with in the beginning, is underutilizing saturation as a way to enforce what values are already trying to convey. When colors mess with values, it's more so that the saturation of certain colors can trick people into thinking that they are darker or brighter than assumed. That's why the visual, what is it, like, illusion? This mixes a lot of voices in it, which I'm not a fan of. The thing with, those, what are they called? Illusions? Those optical illusions that people do, where they're like, this gray and this, like, these two colors are actually the same in grayscale, that kind of thing. Like, it's trying to make sure that when you do use saturation, you use it in a way that doesn't distract from the inherent value scale, while also following in line with, like, the places that you want focus, the places that you want color to kind of help you distinguish these separations in your design. It's why, you know, using saturation can really help in characters that are ultimately very similar in value, right? So characters that are all light, all dark when it comes to value, and very little contrast in between them. This is where color kind of steps up to the plate and helps you really differentiate things. Some of my favorite examples are, I mean, any dark colored character that's mainly all black or mainly like dark purple or something. This really helps when you have something that's super colorful and something that's very much of a similar value range but is much more desaturated. What is it? The characters from Makia, the movie, I find are really good examples of when you have like a character that's very bright all over. So their characters fundamentally are all like the same color palette. It's like very white, at least for the kind of certain groups in the cast. They all have these just straight white clothing with these, like, with the blonde hair. Value-wise, these are not crazy unique characters, but because you have that one slightly darker yellow, it allows you to kind of draw attention to the one place on the body that is both in value and in color very different. And especially if you play with different saturations of that, characters that may not have a lot of dynamic tones or dynamic values can still have like focal points of interest. So they kind of work hand in hand. I'd say if you're working in the grayscale method, you have to still be thinking about what your color palette is going to be, right? Grayscale helps you organize things, but ultimately the grayscale method can only really help you differentiate and distinguish things. If you look at the color palette and you're like, I don't like that these colors are light and these colors are dark because, you know, maybe you want to switch up where the color is placed. Maybe you want the blue to be somewhere else, right? If this blue was down here in the skirt area, maybe this specific blue with this saturation, this value isn't actually what you want. And then when you worked in the grayscale method, it's like, well, I did all this work to make this work in grayscale, and now I'm suddenly changing everything, right? If this bright blue was on the skirt instead, then suddenly your eye goes to the blue because, well, you didn't plan for that originally. So I'd say that they should work hand in hand, but also you have to consider the fact that grayscale does kind of limit you if you don't already preemptively consider how color is going to affect people's perception of things. If you do have a general color palette of like, I want the major part of her to be blue while the rest of her is sort of like a darker brown, of much more desaturated tones, a lot easier to then use the grayscale method to help you find the right values to distinguish the parts. But ultimately, saturation is going to be the main way that color affects that kind of established value range that you've had, as well as just, you know, once you finally see color applied to these things, you might realize, oh, like, none of these, like, this doesn't actually work. I don't actually like how these colors are applied. And then you're gonna have to basically start from square one and figure out, like, okay, if these are the colors I want, what value should go along with them. Hopefully that makes sense. I can explain it in a different way if it doesn't. Peach! Please don't tear up my carpet, please. It certainly is. Wait, I think there is. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay. But is grayscale method necessary to know in the industry, or can I just ignore it altogether? So, knowing the grayscale method specifically is not really the point. It's knowing what the grayscale method is attempting to show you or teach you, right? Just like how knowing certain techniques is sort of not necessary. There's not really like a menu of things that you have to know. It's more so, or specific techniques that you have to know, or styles that you have to know. It's more so what specifically is the fundamental kind of process that this thing shows that you know. Knowing the grayscale method is helpful because it teaches you the importance of values, right? It forces you to see something very clearly. The fact that values are an incredibly powerful subconscious way to show someone what is important in a scene, or show someone what is important in a character. Very similarly to silhouettes, it really forces you as the artist to consider the importance of certain choices, namely choosing to use certain values in this area. When isolated, what does it say about a piece when you are only limited by certain tonal grays and whites and blacks to describe a dynamic palette of things happening, like on a character or in a scene, right? So if you have those things kind of limiting you, you're forced to make better decisions, more effective decisions. So, you know, like again, similarly, very much like silhouettes. But the issue with that is that you ultimately learn these things kind of separated from how they're applied. You're learning these things in an isolated kind of vacuum echo chamber. Vacuum also works. You're learning it in kind of a vacuum, and then as soon as you have to actually apply these things to a different, or actually the more full process of like including color and including texture and all that kind of stuff, then it becomes like you kind of have to relearn how to use grayscale in a way that is essentially a lot more complicated, in a way that is a lot less focused on precisely what grayscale can do and teach you. So it's not like learning grayscale is necessary or not necessary. It's the fact that, do you understand what you were meant to learn by using the grayscale method? Or are you treating it like something that you either learn or you don't learn? And when you, I guess, don't fully understand what it is it was meant to teach you, are you kind of just doing it and using it on autopilot because someone told you it was important to know? Because yes, knowing the grayscale method is very useful, but if you understand what it's trying to teach you without you using it, then it's not useful to know specifically or use all the time. Like I mentioned very frequently, I think it's a lot more important to understand things as tools as opposed to specific methods or specific techniques, because ultimately, if you understand the process and you understand how to utilize it, then doing the grayscale method all the time is not going to guarantee that you're using it well or using it in a way that is effective. And it's much more useful when you bring it out when you need to. I bring out the grayscale method whenever I need to get, like, I don't know, certain comps approved, like if I'm doing illustrations and stuff. It's helpful if I'm needing to verify that, like, hey, this is the, you know, lighting and atmosphere that you wanted. It's very useful in that perspective because it allows me to quickly communicate a general mood, a general atmosphere. And if I'm not doing colors yet, then, you know, it gives you all the information that you need to make an educated, I guess, choice about certain things, right? So that's kind of why I would choose to do that. But if I know overall, like, what my lights and darks are going to be, if I know overall what the color palette's going to be, and I can kind of envision it in my head ahead of time, then I won't need to use the grayscale method. Now that's just how that is. you always drawn like that without an underdrawing or a sketch? No. I used to do guidelines and underdrawings and sketches like all the time, and I still do. The only difference is that there are certain things that I have now gotten very comfortable with drawing that doing under sketch would feel counterproductive and just would feel kind of not as useful as it would be in other circumstances, right? So, because I'm very used to drawing characters in costume and I'm very comfortable with posing characters, at a certain point, stuff like guidelines feels a little bit more like I'm doing them just to do them as opposed to using them for a particular reason. That's not to say that I don't use guidelines anymore. I use them whenever I feel unsure or not very confident in the composition or the pose. Whoa, why is this so loud? It just so happens that I generally don't do that kind of stuff on stream. So the stuff that you see me drawing on stream tends to be mainly stuff that I'm pretty comfortable with. And so it generally is not that difficult for me to just draw it straight. But I never know. Sometimes it is more difficult, sometimes it's just more prudent for me to use an under sketch ahead of time. But not generally. Hey, Braku. Welcome, welcome. How has your relationship with your work changed over the course of your career? Do you think you enjoy your work more now, or are you more content with the point you're at in your journey? I think so. I mean, it's been through a lot of ups and downs, right? I mean, there was a point in my life where I was pretty ready to quit everything. I've been through points where I don't think I was more, like, I could have been more resentful of the fact that I'd chosen to do art as my life direction. I think there was a point where I was pretty anxious about the fact that I didn't have anything else in my life that I liked more and yet hated so much. And, you know, I think nowadays I'm a lot more appreciative of it. I think I've always known that there truly isn't another thing that I could do that I would be nearly as happy doing. But I think I also have a much more healthy relationship with it in general, because I have stopped attempting to, I guess, figure out where all this is supposed to go. Like, I'm no longer trying to make this matter to anyone else but me. And I think I've also stopped trying to be something important and just try to enjoy doing the work that I do. And in turn, I think I've developed a much more honest kind of, I guess, perspective about, like, the kind of work that I'm making and the kind of work that I want to make and want to be doing with my life. And in that way, I think I've also changed how I've used my work as, or how I've commodified my work, I guess. I've changed my perspective on how my work should be sold, or how my work is something that I can make money off of. I have a much better separation from actual professional work to my just personal work in general. So I'd say it's changed in every way it could probably change my relationship with my work. And I definitely think that I am at probably the healthiest point that I have probably ever been with it, than in as far as I can remember. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, like, being an older person with more life experiences. I think I've just become a much more, I guess, mature individual, and therefore willing to like, think through and just kind of consider myself not as, like, what I could be, but who I am right now. But I think I'm also a lot more, in a way, I'm a lot more, like, I don't know, I guess in a way I also expect more. I am painfully aware of all the things that I am not. And while I'm not trying to be irrationally strict and harsh on myself, I also am, in a way, I'm like, objectively I could be more, right? And I'm a lot more confident in my objectivity now than I have ever been, which in a way makes it a lot easier to deal with, because, like, when I am strict with myself, I'm like, we as in me, I and myself know that I could have done better than this. And there is a kind of comfort in knowing that at this point I'm able to tell the differences between when I'm projecting, when I'm lying to myself, and when what my, like, objectivity has declared as being accurate and true. I'm a lot more fair with myself than I have been in a lot of ways. And I think that comes from the fact that I'm in a much healthier place with art than I've been my whole life. So it's an interesting like state to be in. I think it's definitely evolved a lot more in the past like couple years than, like maybe even in the past year than it has in the last like 20. But I definitely enjoy art a lot more in this moment than I think I have in a while. Remember you mentioning one time that you were doing more for your that you were doing more for yourself that didn't post online. Oh, doing more art for yourself that you don't post on. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Do you think that helped you in any way in terms of your relationship with your work? Yes, yes. I think I am someone who definitely overthinks and kind of projects a little bit too much when through my art a little bit. So when it comes to that, I think at least in terms of my personality, posting my work online is definitely much more of a double-edged sword than it might be for other people. And for the longest time, like, I didn't understand the idea of like developing boundaries when it came to that kind of stuff, because I thought, you know, if like I was a deeply antisocial, deeply introverted, desperately lonely kid, and at a certain point I was like, you know, I'll take anything when it came to validation, when it came to like the smallest kindness, and art was always something that, at least for me, was a very personal thing. And I haven't told anyone this actually. When I first went to Lightbox, I never really thought about this way until I went to Lightbox for the first time, and it was the first time I was really around that many like artists. Because I've been to conventions before, but like they were always filled with a bunch of people that were like just fans, or they were hobbyists or whatever. I went to Lightbox Expo for the first time, which if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a artist convention for industry people mostly. You can be a non-industry person, but generally there's a lot of industry people. And I remember going, and I was so overwhelmed the first day because I'd never really had to share art physically with a bunch of other people, in terms of like, I never fully embraced the fact that art was such like a massive thing to so many people, and it was so overwhelming that I kind of had to just like find an empty corner in Lightbox and just like cry because like I couldn't handle this like emotional thing of realizing that like this thing that I've had that was my therapy at the same time my kind of like weird trauma, weird, like it was both a friend and a disease, of like this curse of having spent my whole life with this thing that I had like mythologized in my head. That like going to Lightbox and seeing like all these people was just so overwhelming. I didn't know what to do with myself. And then I kind of calmed down from after a while because I was like, it's cool. It's cool. It's fine. And that had honestly really nothing to do with your question. It was more so that like I think my relationship with art is very much based in the fact that I had done it for myself and by myself for so long that when I had to start sharing it with people, it felt like it had to suddenly change. It took on this like whole new form and whole new life. I hadn't really considered it something that other people did because the only artists I knew for the longest time were dead. So it was almost like, you know, here is this thing that was only ever coveted by people that are now long gone. I was only looking at artists that had been alive, like, you know, in like the 1900s and like the 1700s. So for me, posting online felt like a very different experience than I think it was supposed to. And I got a lot of like childish, naive like validation from it. And I developed a very weird relationship with posting online. Just like the act of posting was a very strange thing for me. And I think once I stopped putting that very specific brand of pressure on myself, when I stopped considering my art as secondary to the ultimate end game, which is posting, right? And getting like, and having it be a relatively successful post. When art became secondary to that, I think that's where all my problems came from, really. I think that's the main issue, was that I allowed something to supersede art in terms of importance to me. And as soon as I made art the end game, right? As soon as I made my work the end game focus, then I was actually able to start remembering things that I wanted to do with my work, things that I wanted to do as an artist, that I couldn't really remember when I was super focused on like, oh, I need a post today, or I need to, you know, make something that's engaging, and I didn't get that many likes on the last post. Maybe I should change my strategy, you know? Like, I can't think of those things, at least me, I can't think of those things at the same time as, you know, trying to make my art something that I want to make and make my art meaningful for me. And I was also a very immature person when I was doing social media stuff. So, like, no boundaries. I projected a lot of my own insecurities onto that kind of stuff. And numbers are not very, like, empathetic. They are what they are. So I think for me, ultimately, getting away from the pressure to post, getting away from the idea that social media is anything but like kind of a soft pastime at this point. I think finally getting away from that has been immeasurably helpful to my current state of mind, to my current peace. Because it is a very noticeable absence in my life. I am very cognizant of how quiet my days are now because I don't go online very much anymore. And I quite like the quiet. I am no longer, like, lonely. I just enjoy being alone. And I think that was, like, a big change for me. Because when I started on social media, I was lonely. But I have a lot more in my life now, just from, like, having a different relationship with my art filled a lot of open kind of like holes in my life. On top of, you know, just like growing up, I have a partner now. Like, I have people that I talk to that don't do art. And like work as well. Working with people on a team has been a lot more helpful for me as like a development as a person than when I was just kind of a student in my dorm room posting things to Instagram. So yeah, the transition from being someone who was lonely and needed strangers to tell me that I was doing okay, to me being able to be alone in my room and tell myself that I'm being okay, that I'm doing fine, that I can be better, and that's something that I can handle, that's something I can look forward to, that's something I can do myself. This person has a sword. And the sword's really... Ooh. This sword's a lot. Okay. I think she's bent over a little too much for this to be the full length. Unless the... This is pointing outward. Maybe that could work. Doesn't make much sense, but... I'll hydrate. Oh, of course. Thank you for asking them. Huh. Well, let's try our best. Will you be guesting on Lightbox this year? No, I've never been invited to Lightbox, so I don't particularly have a reason to go. Oh no. No. I think you have to apply to table there other than being invited to talk, but I don't know the right people that you would need to know in order to get invited to Lightbox. And I think my experience there was whole enough and you know, decent enough that I don't really feel the need to go anymore. Who knows? I've never been to GDC either, so it'll all be very new to me. I'm so good at drawing tangents. So crazy. Something I notice whenever I'm drawing Kaisa is that for some reason I'm just like so good at drawing her hair exactly where her eyes need to be. Like, I don't even plan for this. I draw the hair first and then I'm like, why is this always in front of the eyes? Why can I never draw hair not in front of the eyes? It's always in her eyes. It's in this one. It's in this one. This one was different. That one, it's like right smack where her eyes should be. Like, not with that one. That one, right where her eyes should be. Like, I can't not draw it exactly on top of where I eventually place her eyes. And I don't know if this is just like some kind of like weird, that one too. Like, I drew the hair and then I'm like, that's just like her whole face. I just drew over her whole face. But yeah, I don't know why this is like a thing that I do. I don't like, it's just some habit, some like weird thing that I have. And now it just ruins every drawing I try to make of her. I mean, she is so far from being representative of her actual in-game stats. Like, she's supposed to be wearing scale mail. Scale mail, people. Her boobs are out. I never draw her with scale mail. Like, she is very much not representative of her actual stats. And she never will be, because I love drawing her with different clothes. But yeah. It really does have to just be like some kind of magical mystic scale mail, because it doesn't show up. In my mind, I think of it like glamoring in a game. It's like when you've got best in slot in terms of stats, heavy armor, and then you glamour your 14 character to just be in a bikini. That's how it feels. Mechanically, that'd be really interesting if someone assumes that you have weaker armor than your friends, but you're actually the one in full plate. That'd actually be kind of sick. Do they have different? I don't think so. Oh, no, they're just humans, basically. What's your go-to pose when drawing most people? If that's, or is that not the case because you're used to drawing so many in a sitting? Sorry, I couldn't read that for some reason. Yeah. My go-to pose for drawing people. It does kind of depend because I'm sort of making up the pose as I go. I generally don't try to stick to very specific poses. But I guess like I do tend to draw poses where they're usually twisting a lot. I really like dynamic poses where there's a lot of like movement just because of the cloth. So more so than planning out the movement of the body itself, I'll plan out like, not really plan out, I'll make a lot of big cloth movements instead. And like the pose itself is a little bit more subdued in comparison. Oh yeah, Miran, I'm totally just making up a new costume. Don't mind me. I think it depends on whether or not having a very specific pose is necessary. Like sometimes when you're designing costumes, you don't want characters to be in different poses because it can sometimes distract people from kind of looking at the very specific thing. Which is why the classic like 3/4 concept art pose exists. But I think they're really boring to look at. And sometimes I feel like having a very specific pose or kind of just in general like movement is very helpful for kind of understanding like the vibe behind or the like emotional piece behind the costume. It kind of allows it to live a little bit more, you know? So I tend to do a lot of different poses whenever I'm doing like professional work as well, and sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not. God, I wish it would rain. It did rain a little bit, but not by much. You. Now time to look up what a viola looks like. I haven't played violin in a long time. I do hate the proportions of instruments so much. Okay. I was hoping. Yep. More done. But 'tis fine. See, again, like, why am I so good at placing tangents? Like, I don't even mean to. My body sensed it. It was just like, hey, you know what? Make the finger exactly this short. Make the fretboard exactly... It's not a fretboard on a viola, it's just the neck. Yeah, it's when two things meet. Or like when you draw something and then it hits like the very edge of something. Like when there's nothing that overlapping is usually how you fix this, right? Overlapping or increasing the distance between something. Tangents are when there's no actual way to tell whether or not something is closer or further in space than the thing that is tangenting with it. I don't know. Or is in tangent with something. So, artists, it's like the one thing that students are always like talking about in critique is like they'll be like, there's a tangent right there. It's like, okay. Cool. It's a very rudimentary thing to notice, but I, for some reason, seem to just be so good at placing them absolutely everywhere. Without even intending to. This was 4D chess that I'm playing. They are uncomfortable to look at, right? Like imagine... I mean, the previous one I did actually had a very close tangent, even though it technically wasn't. Like this one, when you look at the sword and the foot, the fact that it's so close, is kind of uncomfortable, because it kind of feels like they're in the same depth when it comes to like three-dimensional space. And it just kind of feels like they're like right next to each other, right? Even though if you zoom in, they're not next to each other. They just are incredibly close. Tangenting is also the same if someone is like so close to the edge like this. It's just uncomfortable, right? That's why people say always have a good amount of space around a figure so they don't tangent with the outside perimeter of the canvas, and also to plan your shapes accordingly. So like if something is so close, the better part would be to have this sword angled the opposite way so that it overlaps with the foot. But I wasn't gonna do that sword again. So I was like, fuck it. But this one, I can fix these. I can fix the fingers. So yeah, I don't know why this is just my superpower, I guess. My God-granted gift of placing tangents in places I don't intend to. I do believe Photoshop does have a autosave feature that you can turn up to be a lot more frequent than the default time. But it does suck, yes. We will do one more and then I'll call it here. I'll probably only do half of this request because they want one full body, one headshot. Probably do the full body first. Or not full body, the headshot first. I think that might be... I say it might be a little faster, but it might not be. Hey, Grunto. Have you ever dealt with injuries that prevented you from drawing? Not so much as injuries. I mean, I've had various incidences with I guess, bouts of carpal tunnel tendonitis. I have an active thing in my shoulder called snapping scapula, which is just like a constant inflammation of certain muscles around my scapula that prevents my arm from fully moving. I have like ongoing like muscle stuff with my neck and my back, but nothing like overall injuries that necessarily prevented me from drawing. They just are aspects of how my body has responded to a life of drawing, I suppose. Are you using Sai? I think you only use Photoshop. And I will get up and stretch. I am using Sai for fun. Because it's fun and enjoyable, and I enjoy it. I still use Photoshop, though, for work and other such things. I think I'm managing it fine. I don't think I'll necessarily be unable to draw. I think I'll take it. I'll do whatever I can to make sure this doesn't prevent me from drawing in the future. Currently, not worried. I don't think necessarily anything I'm experiencing now is crazy in terms of like it'll become like a serious complication. I do see it being a bigger issue as I get older. Hey, that's cool. Welcome, welcome. How's my day? It's been pretty quiet. Yesterday was kind of a mess because I wasn't able to sleep. So I got insanely sleepy around like 3 p.m. when we were out with friends. And then Gary had to basically bribe me to like stay awake until like 10 or 11 p.m. So he let me like sit in his room like a little pouty child, and like he fed me boba and gave me my Switch. It was like, here, you want to play Splatoon? And I was just like sitting on his floor in his office with like, we don't have like chairs or anything in terms of like stuff you can sit on the floor with. He wants a beanbag for it, but we didn't have one, so I took one of Peach's like cat beds, and I took a giant Snorlax plush and a blanket that I had, and I just sat on his floor. I played the intro for Splatoon because I had to wait for it to download for a while. And then as soon as I finished like the first of the tutorial levels, I was like, I don't think I have the emotional energy to do the next one. But I'm very excited. I am looking forward to playing it because I haven't had the opportunity to play the other Splatoon games, so I'm excited for this one to be my first. You are free to ask me questions if you'd like. But I'm a very quiet person, I guess. Unless people need me to talk, I won't. So song. Oops. Forgot to color in his earring. I hope so. Let me go do something that feels a little bit more. Do this one. If it's not, it's okay. I wasn't talking anyway. there's anything. Oh, so he does have scar. Okay. I think I'm gonna end it there. Since we need to do another day of streaming to reach our like September goal that I was doing this for, I will stream again tomorrow. Tomorrow we might do something else, maybe not commissions. I might do some painting or something like that. I might do it earlier or later. I'm not totally sure yet since it was a little bit unprecedented, but I will look to stream tomorrow, just so we can do something maybe slightly different, and also just to fill another day. We're way over the hour goal, so we're good there. We just need another day. So I might stream tomorrow, and we might do something different, but I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys for coming by. Thank you for sticking around. I always appreciate you guys dropping by, and especially thank you to you guys who asked questions. But yeah, hope you guys have a good week. It's Monday, start of a new week. Wishing you guys all the best to persevere through. If I see you tomorrow, I look forward to it. If I don't, feel free to also come by on Wednesday, which will be from 1 to 4 p.m. Pacific, or Friday, which will be 7 to 10 or maybe later p.m. Pacific as well. So if you can't make it tomorrow, you can make it those days. And then yeah, we'll be back on our Friday, just our Friday streams next week. So you've got tomorrow, the day after, and then Friday this week to look forward to if you want to come by. But otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for coming. And have a good night, day, week. And I'll talk to you all later.